Good afternoon and good evening. I am Jack O'Brien.
And I'm Miles Gray. We're the hosts of the podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist.
Dude, I knew you looked familiar from the podcast. We've done like 1,000 episodes together.
Okay?
Yeah, Miles. Okay, Miles. I'm going to remember that. It's like Niles from Frasier with an M. All right,
like,
guys.
I'm your co-host, like my own name. Why does that have to be like Frasier?
Anyways, Miles. Tonight, for the first time, the Podcast Academy will be handing out awards to celebrate the best of the best in podcasts. This is the 2021 Ambies.
Pre-show.
Right, pre-show.
Yes.
Yeah, pre-show. Give it up for the pre-show,
Thank you
guys.
so much. Yeah, there we go. Woo! Look at that. 14,000 strong in the building.
I don't want to speak for you, Miles, but hosting the Podcast Academy Awards pre-show has been a dream of mine for as long as I've known that was a thing, like at least a week and a half.
Yeah. I mean, it's in no way a monkey's paw twist on my own wish to one day host the Academy Awards. It is kind of freaking me out, though, that we have an in-person live audience. Whoa! Is this anyone else's first time, like, being in front of more than 3 relatives for an awkward birthday? Okay, cool. Well,
right,
thank you. We'll do our best
Don't
to
worry,
make it awkward.
You're among podcasters. We are also uncomfortable.
Right.
You've picked actually the perfect group to break the seal with. We're good at conversation. Yeah. We're really bad at eye contact. We won't remember a thing you say unless it comes up in our Twitter mentions. So yeah, all good.
So what exactly is a pre-show, you're asking?
I'm so glad you asked that.
No, they're asking.
They're asking.
Yeah,
you didn't
I know,
ask that. You asked that on their behalf. Look, this is what a pre-show is. It's like a show before the show, all the same elements of the show, but it's happening right before.
And, you know, we're even going to give out some awards right here in the pre-show. You know, there are over 2 million podcasts, and every one of them with a dedicated audience of at least one parent. So, and tonight, we're here to celebrate all of these podcasts and podcasters.
And more specifically, just a small fraction of them. The ones that are good. Sorry, that should have been more dramatic. Anyways, let's get into it.
Yeah. First up tonight, I'm excited to welcome a special guest, one of tonight's presenters, and also a nominee in the Best Comedy Podcast category for his hit show, Culture Kings, joining us live via Zoom. Please welcome comedian, podcaster, and actually friend of ours, Jaquise Neal.
Great Jaquise Neal! Whoa!
Look at us, Jaquise. Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Jaquise, I got to ask you, man, like from, or the early days of Culture Kings, we were working together on the show, to now you are literally nominated for an Academy Podcast Ambies Award, like the height of it. What's that like arc like? What's that been like for you, man?
Yeah, it's really crazy. Like you said, we started off, you guys brought Culture Kings into the world, so you guys should be very proud parents, Uncle Jack and Uncle Miles.
We're really fishing for that one.
Yeah, I'm fishing. I want that award tonight. No, but it's really dope. It's really cool to get the recognition for a lot of hard work. You guys know a lot of hard work we put into the show. More than just talking, we had crazy ideas. You guys let us get some of those ideas out. Those ideas kept going. So, to get the little recognition for what we were able to do as a unit, me and Edgar, is pretty dope.
Yeah. And for you, Jaquise, now you are a multi-hyphenate, you're a successful comedian, actor, voice actor, podcaster, breakdancer, tattoo artist. You have all these things going on for you right now. Like, what do you think it is about the genre that, really attracts, like, these very talented people, no matter if it's comedy or journalism or whatever? What do you think it is about that attracts the talent?
I mean, I can speak for myself, but a lot of it was boredom and having a big ego. You get bored talking to yourself, so you figure I might as well talk to somebody else and let them, either tell me to stop or keep going. But also, I think, like, for most creators, we just like creating, and we like to give that to our audience and put a smile on those faces or give them a little thought to have. So, if we can do that even just a little bit and find an audience that will actually let us do it, the more the better.
Yeah. I mean, Jaquise, Jack and I, we were not nominated. So, we're still trying to figure out what went wrong. But for you as a nominee, can you give us an idea? What's the secret sauce to, like, especially a comedy podcast? Because there are a lot of podcasts out there, but I think there's something really special about a really good comedic podcast. And to you, like, I think all the time people say, like, well, what does it take to be successful? But for you specifically, what do you think it is that, like, a creator really has to put into their comedic content to make it sort of resonate like yours does?
Right. Well, for the Daily Zeitgeist, which I've been on, bring me on more, and next year you guys will be right here.
Okay,
all right.
I'm
Yeah, you're in good with the Academy now. You can help us out.
I'm in good. Honestly, bro, I think it's just being honest with your content. And if you don't find it funny, or if you're not enjoying it, or if you're you guys know this, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, that's going to come through. If you don't find what you're doing enjoyable or funny, it's going to come through. So being really honest and not half-assing it, just going forward. And if people like it, great. If they don't, that's their prerogative. That's okay too. But don't let that stop your process of what you're putting out there. I think if you can keep that in mind, anybody, when it comes to just podcasting in general, that's the number one thing. Also, real quick, I say this to a lot of people who ask me about podcasts. There is no original idea ever. Whatever your idea has been done. So people are coming to see you, and people are coming to listen to you. So you are the focal point of your show. So never forget that. You have to love what you're doing, and people are going to be interested in hearing you talk about A, Y, and Z. So I think that's some of the biggest things that I can give.
Beautiful, man. And you got the chain on. You have the wonderful silk vacation shirt on. I saw you got the tattoo to rep your city. Can you just show us and everybody here in the audience your Chicago skyline?
I've been eating a lot of pizza, so my the shirt is tight.
Oh, okay. Don't hurt us. There it is. Oh, I love it. There you go. Rep your city.
Get up there a little bit.
Oh man. But Jaquise, man, thank you so much for joining us. Surreal for us. Like, we haven't seen each other a year, and the next thing you know, we're hosting this thing, and we're talking to you on the
giant
screen.
Head. This is the biggest I've seen.
Thank you for calling my head big. It makes me feel good.
All right, well, good luck to you, man.
Good luck, man.
Peace, guys. Awesome. Much love.
Give it up for Jaquise, guys. Give it up for Jaquise.
That's technology. That's technology. No way to cut that. All right, well, we're almost at the part you've been waiting for, the awards. So, but before we announce our first nominations, we want to take a moment to say thank you to the pre-show sponsor, Adobe. Adobe. Thank you, Adobe, for all that you do. We all know Adobe Audition is the leading application for podcast creators, and we are glad they joined us tonight to recognize the talent awards, including Best Production and Sound Design. Those nominees need robust tools such as those provided by Adobe to do their amazing work. So let's jump into it.
Miles, it's been said that podcast content means nothing without solid production and sound design.
Yes.
By me just now in this award pre-show.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Production and sound design goes much further than just highlighting the dulcet tones of a narrator's voice.
So dulcet.
Thank you so much, Daddy. It helps tell stories through music, ambiance, and mood.
Ambiance.
Yeah.
So the name of the award does make sense.
Yeah.
Yes, it amplifies emotions. It immerses listeners in far-flung worlds. You get to feel like you're in that coffee and anxiety sweat-scented podcast studio during that intimate interview without having to smell any of that. All of it giving the audience a richer, deeper experience.
Well, here we go. The nominees for Best Production and Sound Design are I did it, Mom. I'm about to
No,
this.
we're just giving out the award.
Well, were you all right there?
Sorry.
This is my reminder
to reveal the award.
You got the timing on point right there. The winner for Best Production and Sound Design is Will Files, Ryan Sullivan, Ryan Walsh, and Matt Yoakum, the Left-Right Game.
Woo!
What an honor. Thank you to the Academy for recognizing and supporting sound as an art and storytelling medium. I want to thank my wife, Anna, for all her support. I love you. My family for encouraging me to chase my dreams, Will Files for your mentorship, Ryan Sullivan, who cut amazing sound on this with me, to the teams at Q Code and Dolby, thank you for believing in us, and thanks to everybody who contributed to the Left Right game.
Yeah, thank you to the Podcast Academy. Couldn't be prouder of the show. Honored to receive this award among such great company. I want to thank my family for their continued support, especially my parents, Ann and Joe. Thank you to our engineers, Alvin Wee and Jerome Corpus. And I would like to thank the entire Q Code team, specifically Rob Herding, Dave Henning, and Tess Ryan for bringing such a great story to life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, man, congratulations.
Right.
Especially to all those parents, man. I want to thank my parents one day.
Yeah.
So sponsors, as we know, are an integral part to a podcast.
Some would even say they are the reason my family no longer has to dine and dash when we go to the Olive Garden.
Yeah. And I can't believe I should go there and I pretend I would forget my wallet when the check would come. I'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't have money. Until they let me go. I don't have to do that anymore because of sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors are like the benefactors of the Italian Renaissance, except instead of making us paint a flattering likeness of them into giant scenes of angels and archangels disemboweling each other, our podcast sponsors merely ask that we pretend to use their products.
Yes, and for Stamps.com's long reign as the only podcast sponsor, asked us to create an alternate reality where the post office is a literal hell on earth.
Worst.
Yeah.
Oh, man, have you ever been to one of those places?
In keeping with the form, we'd like to thank one of tonight's sponsors, actually, Amazon Music.
The only music service I will allow in my household. All right. Miles, I got a question. Quiz.
Oh,
What
I'll
do
nail
Orson
this.
Welles, John Barrymore, and John Gielgud all have in common?
Those are trick questions because those are all names you just made up. They're not real people.
They are all real dead white guys. I actually don't know who that third guy is, but I'm told he is an actor. And I'm told that they all have in common the fact that they starred in radio dramas back in the day.
Oh, okay. You mean Orson
Right.
Welles. Yes.
Fun fact, Ben Shapiro, Alex Jones were not the first fictional shows to create a panic about aliens invading America. So anyways, after a few decades in hibernation, those radio dramas evolved into today's scripted podcasts.
And just like how acting for the stage uses different acting chops than acting for the screen, acting for today's fiction podcast, I like the word acting,
You do.
is a special skill, one that forces performers to put everything into their voices.
And one that generally requires no makeup.
Speak for yourself, you know what I mean, on the makeup. But you definitely don't need pants.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I've seen you in pants, and you pants up nicely.
Thank you. I haven't washed my legs.
The nominees for Best Performance in Audio Fiction are all right, and the winner is
Best performer in audio fiction,
Tessa Thompson, the left-right game.
Accepting it on their behalf is Rob Herding.
Hey everyone, I'm Rob Herding from Q Code, here to accept this award on behalf of Tessa Thompson. First off, I know Tessa would want to thank and congratulate the writer and creator Jack Anderson for his brilliant story. And then to everyone on the team that worked so hard to bring this podcast to life. So much went into crafting the vibrant world. Also want to take a moment to recognize all the fellow nominees and more broadly, all the incredible work that's being done right now in audio fiction. There's so much exciting innovation happening and so much more yet to come. Tessa, it was an absolute joy working with you on this, and I'm honored to accept this on your behalf. Thanks so much to the Academy. Thanks, everyone.
Woo! You know, I'm actually going to start telling people that I worked with Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, we basically did.
That's how Hollywood works.
We're close personal friends now.
Next up, reporters.
Whoa, where? What?
No, I'm talking about the next award. Are you afraid of, do you know what a reporter is?
Yeah, man. Do I know what they are? What kid didn't grow up with their parents telling them, better be good or Woodward and Bernstein are going to get you?
Okay, well, reporters have a lot to do and a lot of digging into the stories that they report on beyond just a Google search. They actually speak to people, find sources, follow leads, all in pursuit of this thing called the truth. Remember that? The truth?
Doesn't ring a bell. Yeah, but I do know reporters are relentless, like the monster from It Follows.
Okay. Well, in celebration of the truth, here are the nominations for Best Reporting. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Then the winner for Best Reporting is Patrick
Radden
Keefe
Keefe
for Wind of Change.
Woo!
Congrats, Patrick.
Thank you so much. Thank you, first of all, to the Academy. This is a huge thrill and an honor to share a category with my fellow nominees. The biggest thanks for me here would be to Henry Malofsky, my really brilliant producer. I'm used to, as a magazine journalist, I'm used to kind of being alone in the mine shaft, and it was amazing for me to have a partner going all over the world reporting this story out over the course of a year. So to Henry, to everyone else at Pineapple Street Studios, at Crooked Media, at Spotify, and then last but certainly not least to my wife Justina and my sons Lucian and Felix, who I think are watching right now, and to everybody who listened all over the world to the podcast and responded to it. It means so much. Thank you all.
Wow, congratulations and many thanks to all of the nominations for, keeping it real.
Yeah, let's hear some of the nominees speak about podcasts that are all about keeping it real.
Yeah, well, podcasts are first and foremost supposed to be entertaining. Many go a step beyond and, try to help us learn more about ourselves.
Yeah, I have so much I need to learn about myself.
Yeah, no, for real. Me too, though. But, we actually got to get on that because time's running out.
It's bad.
Yeah, hopefully we can figure it out.
Hi, we're co-hosts of the Dear Therapist podcast.
Since we're both therapists and advice columnists, we decided to bring our listeners into the therapy room so they can hear how we help people with their problems.
But there's a twist. Each week, our guests have to try out our advice and tell us what happened.
It's a free therapy session for our guests and for our listeners.
We hope this Ambie nomination will help us to spread our message of emotional health, especially during these difficult times.
And if you don't win tonight, feel free to write us a letter.
Hey, I'm Scott Velasquez. I've worked in entertainment for over 10 years, and music has always been a huge part of my life. I have a condition called chromesthesia, which means I see color with sound. And in our industry, it's a huge gift. Finding a theme song for Boonga Boonga was particularly difficult, so we created one, and it ended up becoming an integral part of the storyline.
Hey, I'm Merk.
And I'm Naj, and we are the co-hosts of Adultish. We basically got the idea to start our show when Wire Media was looking for two young co-hosts to start a podcast with them. They paired us professionally, and as soon as we met, we knew that we wanted to show our adulting experience.
To share our mental health stories and just our life experiences. And we have a place in this space. So thank you so much for the nomination.
When Alexander the Great landed his badly outnumbered troops on the shores of Persia, he told them to burn their boats. They would either win or die trying. Burn the Boats is a podcast about these kinds of all-in decisions. We interview political leaders, military leaders, and the occasional poet, artist, or author with an extraordinary story to tell. This Ambie nomination is such an honor for the entire Burn the Boats team, but none of it happens without the incredible listeners who make it all possible. Thank you.
All right, give it up for podcasts that make a difference.
Exactly. Man, I'm going to listen to that Dear Therapist one.
I'm inspired. A great score elevates a podcast and gives it its own unique personality and charm.
Yeah, I mean, it's as true of podcasts as it is of a heist movie.
Yeah, dude, are we about to turn on SportsCenter? Because I feel like I'm about to experience some great scoring.
Ooh la la la. Is that the Fuji's second album? Because I think this one's about the score.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really have anything for this intro
No, but we're
section, so
old.
we just riffed on the word the score.
Yeah, I thought it was good, though.
Anyways, check the scoreboard because the nominations for Best Original Score and Music Supervision are... And the winner
for Best Original Score and Music Supervision.
Uh-oh.
It's the other way. I didn't want to show the camera first.
We got to know first.
Marcelino Villapando, Jacked, Rise of the New Jack Sound.
Woo!
Yeah, awesome. This is so excited. I want to start off first by thanking the Podcast Academy for acknowledging the role that sound and music plays and bringing these stories to life. I'm so excited to be part of this new tradition. I want to thank the Wondery families, specifically Marshall, Hernan, Jen, and George. Thank you to the wonderful folks at UMG and Hitting the Ground Running for helping us bring New Jack Swing back to life. And then, of course, lastly, I just want to thank my family, my friends, my mom, and my wife who have been supporting me since day one. I love y'all. Thank you.
Congratulations, man. Well deserved. You know, I was hoping Wyclef was involved with that one, but
even better. Yeah, that was a call. It's without mentioning a sponsor.
Oh, yeah, I was starting to feel off. You know, like second dose off.
Like second dose Moderna, second dose Pfizer.
Oh no, like second dose Johnson & Johnson.
Miles, that's too many doses, man.
I'm telling you, the second shot tastes worse than the first one.
Word?
Anyway, but thanks for that, Dr. Fauci. Don't worry, I'm feeling better because I get to thank one of tonight's sponsors, Tenderfoot TV.
Woo!
What can a podcast do? What if a podcast could uncover the truth? What if a podcast could deliver justice? What if a podcast could help solve a cold case? What if it already has? Would you believe it? Would you listen?
All right, give it up for Tenderfoot, you guys. That was intense.
Solving crimes?
All right, Miles, we're going to do an exercise. You ready?
I don't like exercise.
All right, we're going to do it. It's like a mental exercise.
Oh, okay, yeah,
it's
I
not
can
like
do
one
that.
that's going to make you sweat.
Nothing physical.
All right, so take thin air.
Okay, got it.
All right, from that, create an entire fictional series of compelling drama or hilarious comedy or that elusive hybrid mutant dramedy. Are you close?
I'm almost there. Just see the Matrix.
All right, what you got?
Okay, so it's called Hornets Blossom. And Mayim Bialik from Blossom falls in love with a hornet's nest.
So you've already proved my point. So that's not good, right? That was really bad. No one would listen to that.
Yeah, for sure.
So writing is hard is my point that I was trying to make.
Well, there's probably a way to illustrate that didn't involve humiliating.
It was so bad. It was
Okay,
even worse than I had
get
imagined.
I get it.
Like I had imagined it in my mind being
Well,
bad,
what
and
would
then
you make Hornets Blossom about?
I wouldn't make Hornets Blossom.
Okay, well that's okay.
Anyways, guys,
we'll do it off air.
Here are the nominations for Best Script Writing Fiction.
And the winner is Shauna Festi and Jen Besser for Dirty Diana.
Woo!
Congrats.
This is so exciting. Thank you. My writing partner, Shauna Festi, keeps disappearing into this crazy background, but she did not disappear from this process. She is the creator and the beating heartbeat of Dirty Diana. And on behalf of both of us, I want to thank the incredible team at Q Code, especially Brian, Rob, and Dave for their wisdom, their creativity, their support. This is a new land for both Shauna and I, and we were so grateful to have them on our team. We have to thank our fearless leader, Demi Moore, for her bravery and her honesty. She inspires us every single day. Thank you to the incredible cast, so many great actors who shared their honesty and their hearts. And thank you to the audience. Thank you to the listeners.
Before we announce, did you what?
I was just gonna say, now we know Demi Moore too.
And
That's
Tessa
pretty
Thompson?
good. Tessa Thompson, Demi Moore.
I think we're going from
big night for us
to Y list. Okay. Before we announce the nominations for Best Script Writing Nonfiction, we'd like to say thanks to another of tonight's sponsors, Wondery. Take it away.
Another big story tonight, a disturbing study out about teens and vaping.
A warning for parents tonight. Do you know if your child is juuling at school?
Back in 2017, YouTube was full of videos of people vaping. Vince Lim watched those videos, but as he watched a little longer, he got a sinking feeling.
It dawned on me that a lot of these folks were young.
Because Vince's company made the device that these teenagers were using, Juul.
We're parents who are mad that these things are out there, and we're mad that they're easily accessible.
From Wondery, I'm Laura Beal, and this is The Vaping Fix. This is a story about two Stanford grads who set out to take on a multi-billion-dollar industry and instead capture the attention of a new generation of smokers.
The White House is calling for a ban on nearly all flavored e-cigarettes. These are the flavors that have started this epidemic among young people.
The Vaping Fix premieres on May 18th.
All right, give it up for Wondery.
Maybe you can help me out with this. I'm always sort of torn between fiction and nonfiction. Like, which is the one I need to read to sound smarter? Because I know nonfiction can't be a story; it has to be facts.
But then it can be a story.
Right, yeah. So it's kind
of. They
both
have words, so they're both pretty smart.
See, that's why I leave it to the nominees for this next category. Here are the nominations for Best Script Writing Nonfiction.
And the winner is
Patrick Radden Keefe, Wind of Change.
Woo. Cleaning up.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. What a huge honor. Thank you to the Academy. Thank you to my fellow nominees. What an honor to share this category with you. Probably the first person I should shout out is Michael Stender Auerbach, my dear friend, who I've known forever, who's almost certainly not watching. But this really grew out of conversations that he and I had over 10 years, and he was game to do it. Along with Michael, really everybody at Pineapple Street and Crooked Media and Spotify, my wife and kids, and Klaus Meine of the Scorpions, who was a very good sport when I came halfway across the world and accused him of not writing his most famous song. Thank you.
Awesome job, everyone. We are getting really close to the end of our pre-show, but before we part ways, I'm super excited to introduce another one of tonight's nominees in the Best Comedy category. His nomination tonight is for the show Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Please welcome comedian and podcaster Matt Gorley. Matt Gorley. Hey, Matt Gorley.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up, man? Thank you for joining us. So good to talk to you. You are, of course, nominated tonight for Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, which is widely regarded as the second best podcast with a host named O'Brien. But you are also
You got there first.
Hey.
That's why Matt's smart.
Right.
He knows.
You're also the co-creator of Super Ego, which is like one of the greatest podcasts of all time. So you're kind of an early adopter. What first brought you to the podcast space?
I think it was just being able to do some form of media entertainment without visual production value and any, like, that was all reliant on the listener just doing that in their head. And that felt like a great way to just shuffle off some of the responsibility elsewhere or something. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. And so you've been in the game for longer than most. How have you seen things? You're giving us a good grizzled vet face. I appreciate that.
15 years.
15 years. What have you seen? Like, how have you seen the space evolve?
I think it's just gone from such a basement niche thing to, obviously, I'm here representing the Conan O'Brien podcast. So I think if you told me that in 2006 when I started, I would have said that's absurd. But in some ways, it still hasn't changed because it's people just find their niche podcast. The fact that this awards ceremony is happening and I'm still at home talking into a microphone by myself and wearing sweatpants on the bottom.
Hey,
tells
like
you
that.
tells you that we're still keeping it real as much as we can.
Yeah. How did the Conan O'Brien thing come about? Because you were one of my favorite podcast hosts, and then I'm listening to the Conan O'Brien show, and you come on as producer Matt Gorley. What was the early days of that and sort of the development process like?
Well, I was working as a consultant for the Earwolf Network, and then Team Coco was starting up their podcast, and Adam Sachs, who brilliantly heads everything over there, and Earwolf kind of said, well, let's develop this show. We'll bring Matt in, and I think they revealed to me my part in stages because I didn't know how big this thing was going to be or how much of a commitment. And by the time we got deep into it, everybody was having so much fun, so it just seemed like a natural fit. And now we're just me, Sona, and Conan are a happy bickering sibling family of some kind, you know.
It's so great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, man, and good luck tonight. And
thanks. Good to see you.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you, Matt Gorley.
Bye.
Yeah. Man, thanks so much, Matt. Once again, we want to say a big thank you to our pre-show sponsor, Adobe.
I love Adobe.
Sound is immediate and immersive. It's so natural to us that we can easily forget how much it defines everything we experience. Just the sound of words is enough to bring whole worlds to life in our imagination. Storytelling is as powerful today as it has ever been. In the last century, the unparalleled growth of radio saw one voice broadcast to many. In this century, the explosion of podcasting have enabled every voice to reach everybody. Here at Adobe, along with all of our recognized innovation in the visual arts, sound has always been a core part of our innovations and creative offerings. Whether it's on the radio, TV and movies, podcasts, or audiobooks, even some of your favorite music, there's a good chance you're listening to Adobe Audio.
I love Adobe, and I don't even pirate it, which is huge for me.
Yeah, okay, money bags. Wow. All right, well, that does it for the pre-show. Thanks to all of you here with us in person. Honestly, thank y'all for
great audience.
laughing,
Give it
having
up.
a good time. And at home or wherever you are, it really was an honor to do this, truly, truly.
Stay right here because the the actual show, is going to start right after this. You're going to see way more from your favorite podcasts and podcasters. The incredible Cameron Esposito is going to take it from here, so enjoy. All
right, have a great time.
Woo!
My brother has a podcast. It's coming out tomorrow. He does it on the daily. His name is Mike Barbaro.
Oh, my sister's cheeky podcast is setting charts on fire. Why don't you date her, dummy? She's only nickel buyer. Take me out on a date.
Podcasts.
Everyone's got one, everybody and their brother.
Podcasts.
Issue them out, birth another than another.
Podcasts. Send them straight into my ears.
Mark Maron's show alone could play for 30 years.
Boomer lives. Even my girlfriend has a podcast. It's really super duper. Don't believe me? Call her daddy. His daughter's Alex Cooper.
Talking about sucking. Super special.
Podcast.
Everyone's got one, every mother, son, and daughter.
Podcast.
Download them to my brain, I really think they oughta.
Podcast. Not to be too indiscreet.
I'm office ladies in the streets, freakonomics in the sheets.
Drink champs, fresh air, Shepherd's got an armchair. Lure 538, someone light on caliphate. Code switch, live kid, Conan's got a new friend. Breakfast Club, Dirty John, now agents want the back end.
Welcome to the show. The Ambies Awards for the finest audio. We elevate the best from the depths of all the rest. We listen to them all, MP3 to uncompress. Welcome to the Ambies. These are the nominees.
Everyone's got a podcast. Everybody's got one. Even my brother, and me. Seriously, it's called My Brother, and Me.
And you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. It helps our show grow and find an audience.
Welcome to the 2021 Ambies, the awards for excellence in audio. Here is your host, Cameron Esposito.
Hello. Oh, yes. Yes. In the audience, that is 14 people clapping. The last time I heard 14 people clap. It has been a minute, and I'm just going to need a second with that. Oh, whew, thank you for giving me that. I'm Cameron Esposito. Hello, and welcome to the 2021 Ambies, the first ever Podcast Academy Awards show where we celebrate podcasting and podcasters, or, as I like to call it, the new Golden Globes. You see, we actually have black members. And isn't our statue cute? Huh? I love the little mic up there, the little headphones. It's like how the Grammys is a little gramophone, how the Oscars is a little actor, how the Globes is a little racist. Well, like a lot racist, actually. That's my final one of those, I swear. They said that at last year's Globes. Anyway, truly, I'm done. The Ambies, that's what we're talking about. We were gonna call it the Potties, but the Potties were occupied. So, come on. Okay, let's start the night. And what a night it will be. What a 2021 night specifically. I'm here, basically alone in the studio, sorry about that, but very aware that I am charming and hilarious, large audience or not. It has been a terrible, wild, divisive, unifying, and sometimes very good year. A year when literally everything happened. I mean, we started giving awards for podcasting. Everything happened. And what better year to recognize the contributions of the folks who were with us in our earbuds or screaming out of our laptops when no one else was. when we couldn't be with family, friends, coworkers. Well, I don't know who wanted to be with coworkers. We weren't alone, at least for the 20 or 25-minute intervals between ads for home vitamin delivery services. I am a podcaster. I've got a great podcast called Query. I've been podcasting for a decade, and I'm a listener. So to everyone who made audio this year, thank you. I was desperately lonely, and you really helped a lot. Speaking of ads, we want to thank our gold sponsor, Amazon Music. They have podcast people. And our silver sponsors, PRX, Tenderfoot TV, and Wondery. And I really want to thank whomever came up with the idea for promo codes and 10% off, without which podcast ads would be nothing. I also want to thank iHeartRadio hosts Miles Gray and Jack O'Brien, who kicked off tonight's Ambies with the pre-show. They were great, right? They were great. Of course, the pre-show was sponsored by our friends at Adobe, so thanks to them. And during the pre-show, we gave out the first 6 awards, recognizing behind-the-scenes jobs you've never heard of, like production design or nonfiction script writing, or jobs that are just unnecessary in podcasting, like reporting. And speaking of things you've never heard of, the Ambies are given by the Podcast Academy, which I'm told is a well-meaning group of people, about 1,000 of them, who got together to help each other, you know, as all of us podcasters are inclined to do, be helpful, and, air quotes, elevate the cultural impact of podcasts. Okay, all right. Well, thanks for that. Next up, don't believe me? Well, our first presenters are butt naked. Please welcome the multi-Grammy nominated artist Esty Haim and Emmy Award winner Darren Criss, host of the new Cadence 13 podcast, That Thing I Do, coming this summer.
Thank you very much, Cameron. Hi, if you don't know me already, my name is Adam, most commonly mispronounced as Darren Criss.
It's weird because the same thing happens to me. My name is Eve, but it's actually pronounced Esty.
And we are here to present the nominees for
Best
Society and Culture Podcast of 2020.
We got that right.
Yeah.
We're really good at this already.
Well, it's because if you're wondering why we're presenting it, it's because we actually were the first society.
We created it.
Ever. We created it. We originated it.
It all came from us.
All culture stemmed from us.
We are responsible for it.
Which is why we finally decided to have a podcast of our own. Because
I know. Really exciting.
We actually have the very first podcast of all time because we've known each other since
basically the dawn of time.
Dawn of time.
Yes.
So it was time to join the game, and we also decided that we would do this presentation just so we could be clearly
I just want to be on camera.
Yeah, and a shoo-in for
next
year's award, which obviously goes to the original
us.
Us.
I'm not doing this for my health.
Yeah, this is for the award.
Yes.
And having said that, here are the nominees for Best Culture and Society Podcast.
There you go.
Best Society and Culture Podcast. Code Switch. Ear Hustle. Heavyweight. Into America. Latino USA. Resistance. You and Me Both with Hillary Clinton.
And the Ambie goes to Code Switch.
I just want to thank everybody for, rocking with us last year. As a lot of y'all know, as everyone lived through, last year was a very trying year. And so Shireen, my co-host, and I are very, very flattered and honored that you decided to come to us to help try to make sense of everything that was going on. It was a very, very hard year logistically for us to pull this podcast off. And it took us a long time to get to this place where we could do this. So I just want to thank everybody for recognizing our hard work, and shout out to the rest of the Code Switch family. We did it, y'all. We made it.
Congratulations, Code Switch. I am a listener. I love your show. I do feel a little bad for Hillary Clinton. Not even this. Not even an Ambie. If this were a normal year, the winners would be here getting this amazing looking statue, which I will have in a moment. There you go. Thank you. This amazing looking statue. I mean, look at them. Yes, I said them. Like me, they are gender fluid. It's the kind of statue you would want to put on a shelf, your coffee table, or your nightstand, because the thing is so heavy it can be used for self-defense. A story that will then be covered by my favorite murderer, criminal, and morbid. But who decided how the Ambies are given? And most importantly, how do I get one? You might be asking. It's simple. First, you need to launch a podcast. You'll have to start there, because as you heard, even your girlfriend has one. Well, not my girlfriend. She works in publishing, but your girlfriend. That's who we're talking about. Then you need to enter the podcast during the nomination period in November. And finally, all of the members of the Podcast Academy will vote category by category on who should be the winner. One member, one vote. Simple, right? You can even vote in Texas, Florida, and Georgia. For now. There are apparently 2.2 million podcasts out there, of which at least 500,000 are about complete strangers telling you how to live your life, because they know, right? Of them, only 7 are nominated for Best Wellness or Relationships Podcast. And the Ambie goes to Therapy for Black Girls.
What an incredible honor. Thank you so much to the Academy for this honor. I really, really appreciate it. A huge thank you to our incredible production team, including my husband, Dennison, Cindy, Ease, Elise, as well as my beautiful babies, Jackson and Julian. Thank you to the iHeart family for helping me to support the podcast and share it with others. And I definitely could not do this without our incredible community. Thank you all for tuning in each week and sharing it with your circles. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. And presenting the Ambie for Best Fiction Podcast, please welcome the host of Pod Save the People, activist and author, and Podcast Academy Governor, DeRay McKesson.
Thanks, Cameron. I wish that I could be there with you in LA, but the cool thing about fiction is that fiction allows us to be anywhere we want to be. It's the work of make-believe. It's the work of imagination. Now, I spend most of my time on issues of nonfiction about what was the past, what is the present, how do we build the best world that we could have. The best fiction podcasts are the podcasts that help us think about the biggest possible world that our lives might fit into, help us expand what we believe is worth and desire, all of those things, and fun and joy. It is the best work of make-believe. This year's nominees for Best Fiction Podcast are following.
For Best Fiction Podcast, your nominees are Asking for It, Blood Ties, Dem Times, Dirty Diana, Frozen Frights, Aurora Borealis, Vacant, The Left-Right Game, The Two Princes,
And the Ambie for Best Fiction Podcast goes to Blood Ties Season 2.
Well, I'd like to thank the Podcast Academy and everybody at Wondery, especially Hernan Lopez, Jen Sargent, Kale Bittner and Vlad Norman, who helped make this show get out into the world. To all the listeners, hopefully this show brought listeners to audio fiction. I, of course, want to thank our incredible cast, Josh Gad and Gillian Jacobs and Dominic Monaghan, especially for, I think my kids are coming in to say hi, especially for recording season 2 in their closets. And finally, to Jeff Schmidt and Ben Gray, thank you very much. And thanks to the Podcast Academy and my wife, Heather.
Huge congratulations. I don't believe he has kids. Do you? I think that was fake. Over 1,000 different podcasts submitted an entry for the Ambies by December. Early this year, over 100 members of the Academy volunteered to spend collectively 4,000 hours listening to every single entry. God bless you. They narrowed down the list to 164 nominees we're celebrating today. And here are the nominees for sports. And the nominee and the winner is Whistleblower.
Wow. Thank you. This is really cool because this story would not have been able to be told. The only way this story was getting told was via podcasting. So this is really a thank you to the medium. All right, cool, because I was messing up that speech anyway. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Tenderfoot, Donald Albright, Payne Lindsay, to my partners in this project, Doug Matica, Cole Ocasio, Alex Vestestead. It's a real honor. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, that was exciting. This might be the only award show where you could be played off by music within your own home. Please welcome writer, producer, 6-time Emmy-winning actor, and the host of the very, very funny Jim Brockmeyer podcast, Hank Azaria.
Thanks, Cameron. You know, when I'm not busy writing butt plug jokes on Twitter, which I almost constantly am, by the way, I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm listening to one right now. Yeah, it's a great way of avoiding communication with my family. What, honey? I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sweetie. Podcast. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I wear the headphones when they're not even plugged into anything, like right now. So I'm gonna stop pretending to yell over the podcast. In addition to helping us avoid adult responsibilities and our families, podcasts help remind us of where we have been and at times how far we still have to go. The nominees for history are
Best History Podcast, American History Tellers, American Scandal, Detours, Driving the Green Book, Slow Burn, Unfinished Deep South, Very Presidential with Ashley Flowers.
And the Ambie goes to Driving the Green Book.
Wow, this is amazing. I want to thank Juleka Lantigua Williams, who helped me edit this program and bring this to life. I want to thank Cedric Wilson for the beautiful soundscaping. My road trip was done with my great friend, Janae Woods Weber and Kemi Aladesuyi, and it was a wonderful trip. Throughout this whole process, I have received amazing support from the people at Macmillan Podcasts, Kathy Doyle, Morgan Ratner, and Jasmine Faustino, and the team at Apple who really helped broadcast this program around the world. And all of the 30 people we interviewed on that road trip and for the stories that they shared with us, I am truly thankful. Thank the Academy for this wonderful honor.
was very cute. He was getting, there was little dings that was people texting him. Congratulations! That man has friends! As a former theology major who now for some reason works as a stand-up comic and is clearly always in need of guidance on how to live, this next category really speaks to me. Let's take a minute and look at our nominees for personal growth and spirituality. And the Ambie goes to On Being with Krista Tippett.
Thank you so much. Podcasting is the new fireside, and it's been such an incredible adventure to be part of this field, and it's lovely that the Ambies is now recognizing this, and I'm grateful for my fellow nominees, wise people and wonderful creators, and also want to give a big shout out to my incredible colleagues at the On Being Project. Thank you.
Oh, congrats, Krista. Nice to see your face. She has a very soothing voice. You should, if you listen to On Being, very calm, very calm. A special announcement to the director of the show. Donald Albright is about to speak. So please keep your hand on the 7 delay button. Donald Albright is not only the co-founder and president of Tenderfoot TV, which has given us podcasts like Up and Vanished and To Live and Die in LA. He's also the chairperson of the Podcast Academy. He's a trendsetter, a fire starter, a troublemaker, but always that good kind of trouble. I bet Donald is willing to share a few thoughts about the Podcast Academy.
Thank you, Cameron, and thanks to everyone joining us from home and in the studio tonight. The Ambies is a special night because for the first time, we as an industry come together to honor our own in a space created by podcasters for podcasters. You deserve a night to be recognized by your peers for all of your amazing work. But the work of the Podcast Academy stretches far beyond one event and far beyond one night. Our mission is to elevate the medium and support podcasters on a global level, building a more informed and inclusive community through educational programming and networking events. To help fulfill that mission, I'm happy to announce 2 new initiatives coming this year. We are expanding our mentorship program to add small group mentorship so that we can serve more members on a higher level. And as part of our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, we're committed to launching our paid internship program to develop a diverse group of leaders and help shape the future of our industry. Together, we can build successful organizations like the Podcast Academy without accepting the notion that professional organizations should be gatekeepers. The Academy belongs to its members, and we are comprised of individuals, not of companies. We are producers, hosts, sound engineers, marketing reps, and beyond. We come from independent and major studios, public and commercial radio, listening platforms, and more. But enough of me talking about our members. I think it's time that you met some of them yourself.
The Podcast Academy has already become such a great resource for a lot of podcast creators to be able to network and find tools and resources. So we're really in support of that from our Epiclef media team and Blockbuster, our cast and crew.
I'm a podcast producer in India, and I appreciate the Podcast Academy for giving me a cohort of my peers, something that doesn't really exist in India yet. I also really appreciate the Mentor-Mentoree program, and it's something I have already benefited from and I'm grateful for.
I am so thrilled to be a part of an organization like this. We all work so hard, we love the work we do, so it's great to have a place like this that's going to uplift, inspire, and motivate the work that we're doing. So excited to see where we go next.
The Podcast Academy is all about continuing education. What we do changes on a daily basis. The Podcast Academy has given us the space and the tools to grow and learn along with our colleagues. You should never stop looking to learn.
The podcasters we're celebrating deserve a lot of attention and acclaim, but this show wouldn't be possible without the amazing crew here at In Crowd Studio. as well as a generous support of our sponsors, one of which is Amazon Music. Nothing was said. So please take a moment, grab your phone, and subscribe to Amazon Music. Don't worry about adding another recurring fee to your life, just charge it. And while you're at it, sign up your mom and your grandma too. In 20 years, President Sasha Obama will abolish all credit card debts, so you're fine. Now, please, uproarious welcome in the studio and at home, we'll check. Welcome Podcast Academy Governor Rob Greenlee.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I'm very excited to be here tonight in person as a 17-year independent podcaster and former chairperson of the Podcast Academy. I'm thrilled to represent our organization as we honor an independent podcast recognized for their inspiring work and positive impact on listeners, Teenager Therapy. The hosts of the show are 5 stressed out, sleep-deprived, yet energetic teens on their podcast. They share their struggle and vulnerabilities, reaching thousands of other teens and shining a light on mental health issues. And we are lucky enough to have the Emmy-nominated actor and new podcaster Asante Black sit down with some of the creators, hosts of Teenager Therapy, to talk about their show and their journey.
What's up, guys? Congratulations on being presented with the Audio Impact Award from the Podcast Academy.
Thank you.
My new podcast, Here Comes the Break, dropped this weekend. It really closely aligns with the work that you guys have been doing. I play a podcast host, having conversations with other young people about creativity, mental health, friendship, hope. Can you give me a summary of what your show is about?
Teenage Therapy is a coming-of-age story in real time where we have vulnerable conversations about topics that matter, like sexuality, confidence, mental health, heartbreak.
Why did you decide to start your show?
It was really just me wanting to make something that I would want to listen to. I looked up to see if there was a podcast like this, and there wasn't. So I just decided to make it myself.
When did you all first realize the reach that you guys had?
We got a lot of messages and DMs about how nice it feels and how reassuring it is knowing that we are going through the same things without ever realizing it.
Why do you think that people do relate to you guys so well?
I think our main attraction is that we show that teens and young people can be taken so seriously, even if they're relatable or vulnerable.
You've been featured in the New York Times, Wired, Good Housekeeping, Teen Vogue, and on and on and on. And now, here you are, chosen to be the first ever recipients of the Podcast Academy's Audio Impact Award. Has your success helped shape what you see for yourselves 10 years from now?
We have been so grateful for all the opportunities and press that we have been given. All of us will continue to pursue this mission in our careers and make sure that mental health is talked about and it will never stop being talked about.
Listen, thank you all so much for joining me today and talking with me about your show and making the world a better place for the next generation. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Podcasting has always been and continues to be rooted in the energy, innovation, spirit of millions of independent podcast creators. Podcasters are storytellers and entertainers. They are young and old. They hail from all corners of the world and yet share a common creative focus that has made podcasting the success it is today. So tonight we honor one shining example of that independent energy and impactful spirit. It is my extreme honor to present the 2021 Audio Impact Award to Teenage Therapy.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to the Academy for gifting us with this great honor. It's something that we truly, truly appreciate, and it's something that wouldn't have been possible without all of my co-hosts, everyone here, Kayla, Thomas, Mark, Isaac. They're really the only reason this show works, because our whole thing is about vulnerability and showing that, you know, we're going through the same things and we're going through problems, and the only way that we can get through it is if we talk about it, if we talk to one another, if we give each other, you know, we open ourselves up and give each other the power to hurt one another, because that trust, that vulnerability, yeah, it is scary, and it does open you up to be hurt. But it also opens you up to some of the most meaningful connections. It opens you up to a whole nother world of friendship. And throughout, these past 2 years, that's something that we discovered. And this last week was actually kind of a little bit emotional for us because it was our last episode before graduation. And we started off as sophomores. We grew with our listeners, and now we're graduating, going off to college, going off to the next phase of our life. And it's something that is just, this was a great way to kind of just wrap it all up, I guess. But, of course, we hope to just continue doing this because, like our listeners tell us, it means a lot to them and helps them feel less alone. So we hope to just keep doing that. Thank you to our listeners for listening to us and just growing with us and taking our words and applying them to your own life and just showing that you care. We're very proud of you, too. I know we kind of grew up with you. Some of you are freshmen, some of you are younger. And thank you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you.
Wow. Congratulations, Teenager Therapy. Impressive, right? Yeah. So impressive. I love them. I mean, they really deserve their award. Also, I'm jealous. They have their lives together. Those are teens. When I was a teen, I dated cisgender dudes. So, not my best years. Okay, business podcasts. Business podcasts come in all shades, from legit to shady. There's the Pyramid Scheme podcast, the Join My Email List podcast, the Weird Cryptocurrency and its newest cousin NFT podcast, and don't forget, even your real estate agent has a podcast. How can you afford real estate? Just a side question. But in order to be nominated for the best business podcast at the Ambies, you need a quality podcast. One that helps listeners learn about business in an entertaining way. These are the nominees. And the Ambie goes to The Heist.
Oh my God. Thank you so much to the Center for Public Integrity and our entire team. In alphabetical order, Allie Swenson, Allison McAdam, Alan Holmes, Andres Caballero, Brett Forrest, Curtis Fox, Camille Peterson, Catherine Cranhold, Lucas Brady Woods, May Fong, Nina Perry, Peregrine Andrews, Peter Carey, Peter Smith, Robin Amer, Sarah Kleiner, Sarah Wyman. We're almost out of time. My wonderful husband, David Felsen, and all the other amazing folks at the Center for Public Integrity. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. What a sweet person. The Center for Public Integrity. Like, I trust that person. That's a trustworthy person. Now, please welcome a comic I personally really look up to, even though we've never met, which is odd. Why haven't we met? Whitney Cummings.
Thanks, Cameron. We will meet very soon, I promise, on Grindr. Anyway, so many people come to podcasts because they love interviews, and I think there are two secrets to great interviews: extensive preparation and listening. Just kidding. I don't do either of those things. My secrets are basically just talking to narcissists and asking an unrelenting series of embarrassing questions that I frankly don't even let them answer because I get super bored. So the point is, other people do it a professional way, and they are researchers, and they have empathy, and they have curiosity. That sounds like a nightmare, but I just don't think there's enough Adderall in the world for me to work as hard as these nominees. You know, these teams created something really special, and I am so honored to present the nominees for Best Interview Podcast.
For Best Interview Podcast, your nominees are A Winning Mindset, Lessons from the Paralympics, Asian Enough, Back from Broken, Death, Sex, and Money. More with Anna Maria Tremonti. The Frontline Dispatch. Traffic with Mariana Van Zeller.
And the Ambie goes to Death, Sex, and Money.
Thank you so much to the Podcast Academy for this recognition. Such an honor to be recognized among all of these incredible shows. I just want to thank our host, Anna Sale, who dreamed up Death, Sex, and Money because of her desire to have more open and honest conversations, and who leads those conversations with such grace and boldness every week. I want to thank the small but mighty team behind our show, which includes Affy Yellowduke, Annabelle Bacon, Yasmin Khan, Andrew Dunn, and Emily Botine. I want to thank WNYC for supporting our work, and I want to thank our guests and our listeners who go there with us every week on our show. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. And I would just like to publicly ask, let me be a guest. I know something about each of those things, especially the middle one. Okay. When it comes to podcasts about science, there are two kinds of listeners. Those who actually listen to them and those who just subscribe to them to feel smart. And then they let the episodes pile up until the Apple player says, "Are you not interested anymore? Dummy?" It's judgmental like that. At which point they go back to true crime. The nominees for Best Knowledge, Science, or Tech Podcast are and the Ambie goes to Shortwave.
Shout out to the amazing Shortwave team, Maddie Sophia, Emily Kwong, Giselle Grayson, Rebecca Ramirez, Brett Hansen, Thomas Liu, Rasha Reedy. Not only is Shortwave a science podcast where you can hear weird facts about face mites or lemon batteries, but we can talk about equity issues, the pandemic, or ask big questions about who gets to be a part of science. That's all because of this incredible team. Also, thank you to the NPR Science Desk. Your tireless reporting makes us better. And finally, to Andrea Kissick, Beth Donovan, Neil Kruth, Anya Grumman, so many others. And of course, our listeners, we wouldn't be here without you. It's been an amazing journey making the podcast with all of you. So really appreciate it.
And now, please welcome the creator of Podcast of the Year nominee, Blockbuster, The Story of James Cameron, writer-director Matt Schrader.
Thanks, Cameron. It's an enormous honor to be a part of the first Ambies and for Blockbuster to be a nominee. Our series is a dramatized retelling of real events, the rise of filmmaker James Cameron. But just like the following nominees for Best Documentary, the magic all begins with an investigative deep dive to discover the stories of the people and the world around us. The podcast format allows intimate access to stories we rarely experience in documentaries for film and TV. These insightful podcasts exhibit impressive news gathering and spellbinding presentation. The nominees for Best Documentary Podcast are...
For Best Documentary Podcast, your nominees are California City, Conviction Season 2, American Panic, For Life, the podcast, I'm Not a Monster, Louder Than a Riot, Painkiller, America's Fentanyl Crisis, The Edge, Houston Astros.
And the Ambie goes to I'm Not a Monster.
Thank you so much. That's totally unexpected. I have my producers on my iPad here and they're all going mad. And I'd like to say congratulations as well to all my fellow nominees. Like, some of your work is incredible. Shout outs go to Max Green, Lucy Sullivan, Joe Kent, Rainey Aronson, and Dan Edge as well. But yeah, thank you to the Academy for doing this. That's a huge honor for all of us.
No matter who you are where you live, or what you do, you've had some extraordinary challenges in the past year. A good number of podcasts we're honoring tonight arose from a personal or family challenge that led to a breakthrough or an epiphany. Let's hear from a few of these creators now.
This is Bryson, the main character in the CBC podcast, Unlocking Bryson's Brain. Getting an Ambie nomination means so much because it recognizes the importance of telling stories like Bryson's. Bryson has a rare genetic condition, Grimm disorder. He has physical and cognitive disabilities, and he's nonverbal, so I'm telling his story for him.
The International Paralympic Committee teamed up with Allianz to produce a sporting podcast like no other. Being nominated for an Ambie is a huge honour, but really we just do the easy part. That's because a winning mindset belongs to those athletes who strive every day for sporting excellence. Their stories inspire and change us, and without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Our network was launched when Jessica Cordova-Kramer reached out to me, hoping to start a podcast about something very depressing that we have in common, which is that we both lost our little brothers to opioid use disorders. From there, we launched Last Day, a show about the things that are killing us, namely opioids and suicide.
Hi, I'm Chris Colbert, the executive producer of Say Their Name, a docuseries where we travel the country giving a platform to families impacted by police violence, going beyond the hashtags, and learning about who these victims are as people. We're so honored that Say Their Name has been nominated for Podcast of the Year, because this will help to continue elevating these untold stories.
What inspired me to do this podcast really is my friend Molly and her brave soul. When she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, she decided to leave her marriage and embark on a sexual journey to feel alive. But the podcast is about so much more than that. It's about friendship, making peace with your past and what you leave behind. And so thank you so very much. We are so honored to be nominated because in a way, this is how Molly lives on.
Podcasts are unique in their ability to tell deeply personal stories in a way that's compelling and accessible. They're also an outstanding medium to tell complex news stories with empathy, which last year we all needed. These are the nominees for Best News Podcast. And the Ambie goes to Today Explained.
Thanks very much to the Ambies. I professed my love to my teammates at a recent pitch meeting, which seems like a really odd thing to do. But just before the pitch meeting, I was thinking about just how much hard work goes into making a daily news podcast, the editing, the mixing, the planning, the pre-interviewing, the scoring. There's a million things that go on. And my team pours everything they have into every single show. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this team, to be working in podcasting, which is, podcasts are so young and all the best stuff is ahead. So let's support each other. Let's take care of ourselves. And I'm really excited to see where news podcasts go and where podcasts go in general. So thanks to Vox for helping us do our thing day in and day out and mess up and keep going and try again and keep up the good work, everyone. Thanks to the Ambies.
Yeah. Please welcome the man with the best hair in all of AM radio, a real person who is definitely only known for podcasting and who, like I said, is a real person. Terry Carnation.
Thank you. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you so much. And thank you for your kind words about my skull pubes. It's so delightful and delicious to be here at the Ambies. I'm not really anywhere. I'm just in my office. Now, as you may know, I have taken a bit of a hiatus from my video store duties at Radio Rental, and I have triumphantly returned to my passion, late night AM radio on my show, Dark Air with Terry Carnation, starring, well, moi, Terry Carnation. Now, tonight I have been summoned to present Best Podcast Hosted by a Ghost, which... Wait, what? There are no podcasts hosted by ghosts. Well, that's not true. You may not be able to hear said podcasts on your mortal RSS feed, but anyway. So I must be here to present Best Podcast from an Alien Planet True Crime. Alien Planet True Crime. What? Oh, what's that? All of our podcasts are from Earth? Oh, that's pathetic. Well, then what ridiculous category am I here to present? May I... Politics and opinion? Seriously? Oh, okay. Politics and opinion. Yes, politics and opinion, the two things that have really brought us all together as a country. Politics and opinion. Here are your nominees.
Best Politics or Opinion Podcast. Burn the Boats. Gaining Ground, The New Georgia. Our Nation of Immigrants. Politically Reactive. The Dan Bongino Show. The NPR Politics Podcast. Winning Wisconsin.
And the Ambie goes to Gaining Ground, The New Georgia.
Thank you, Ambies. Thank you so much to Donald Albright and the entire Tenderfoot TV team, to my phenomenal co-host, Rembert Brown, our amazing lead producer, Christina Dana, the Cricket Media and Cadence 13 teams, our family for being patient with us, our families for being patient with us as we recorded this through the holiday season, and all of the listeners who showed that there is a dedicated audience for podcasts about Black, Southern, marginalized voices. So thank you.
As is often the case at award shows, we announced a number of winners in the pre-show broadcast, which was sponsored by our friends at Adobe, and I want to take a moment and acknowledge them. We don't want the talent awards to be overlooked. Then again, if we didn't want them to be overlooked, maybe we shouldn't have given them out before the show started. So here to explain why these awards weren't good enough for the main show are our pre-show hosts, Miles Gray and Jack O'Brien from the iHeartRadio podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist.
Oh, man.
Wow,
so
thank
much.
you, Cameron.
Yeah.
Congratulations on hosting the main show.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Hosting the
We
main show, yeah, that's
apparently weren't good enough, but whatever.
That's not what my mom said. She just said they didn't see enough of us to know that we
Right.
would be good for the main show.
Yeah, this is our chance. Anyways, to make it even worse, we were just informed that the pre-show winners will only get this printout of the award.
So
It's a nice paper stock.
It's thick though, so it
Right.
feels heavier than a normal copy or just
Right.
printed image. So there's, that's something.
But in all seriousness, these awards went to the people who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to craft the shows that we all know and love. Here are the winners.
Best production and sound design: Ryan Walsh, Matt Yoakum, Will Files, and Ryan Sullivan for their work on The Left-Right Game.
Best performer in audio fiction, Tessa Thompson for her work in The Left-Right Game.
Best reporting: Patrick Radden Keefe for his work on Wind of Change.
Best original score and music supervision, Marcelino Bellapondo for his work on Jacked, Rise of the New Jack Sound.
Best scriptwriting fiction: Shauna Festi and Jen Besser for their work on Dirty Diana.
Best scriptwriting nonfiction, and again, Patrick Radden Keefe for his work on Wind of Change.
Well, congratulations to all the winners. We'll turn things back over to our main show host, but we will take our awards out with grace. Thank you so much, y'all.
Ah, yes, real host, real Ambie. Thank you, Miles and Jack. And now, please give it up for a podcaster, actor, and comedian from Chicago. Me. That's actually true of me. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, please give it up for a podcaster, actor, and comedian from Chicago, Jaquise Neal.
Thanks so much, Cameron. Now, as a podcast host, I am often invited to appear on a podcast. And then I eventually have those podcast hosts on my podcast, The Endless Circle. Now, experts say that by the year 2024, every podcast host will have appeared on every podcast that exists. It's prophecy. It's going to happen. I mean, eventually Mark Maron is going to wake up one morning and realize he has to be a guest on his own podcast. I imagine it's going to go something like this. Who are your guys, Mark? No, Mark. Who are your guys? That's how it's going to go. But now we are here to recognize some of the voices that we turn to for wit, insight, laughter, and learning. The nominees for Best Host are
Best Podcast Host, Dahlia Lithwick.
And a few minutes later, Justice Ginsburg arrived.
Josh Gwynn and Tracy Clayton.
White dudes just be lying. They just
and
be
getting
lying.
away with it and failing.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Like I said, I think you can see where I'm going with this.
Mo Rocca.
She couldn't look to anyone and say, I want to be like this person.
Patrick Radden Keefe.
And the path from a riddle to its solution is almost never a straight line.
Wendy Zickerman.
That doesn't mean it's not quite a shock.
Whitney Cummings.
A world of trouble for Berlusconi, for Italy, and maybe the world.
And the Ambie goes to Patrick Radden Keefe, Wind of Change.
Wow. That's a big surprise and a great honor. Thank you. First of all, I should really thank the CIA for secretly sponsoring this podcast. Only joking. I'd like to thank Pineapple Street Studios, Crooked Media, and Spotify, who are really amazing partners for me in working on this project. Everybody, the amazing technical wizards and people who helped us all along the way create the thing that we wanted to create. All of the interviews, we interviewed almost 100 people in 4 countries. And so everybody who took the time to come in and talk with us and tell us their stories, whether they were spies or musicians or music fans, people who listened all over the world. And my friend Michael Stender-Auerbach, who brought this story to me in the first place, and my family, Justina, Lucian, and Felix. Thank you so much to the Academy. It's a great honor.
Congratulations. I would also like to thank the CIA. That just seems like a good thing to do for safety. Thank you. Now, let's hear from some more of this year's nominees.
I'm the artistic director of the Icebox Radio Theater, a group from International Falls, Minnesota, that's been producing audio fiction since 2004, before podcasting was even a thing. And we were nominated this year in the podcast fiction category of these inaugural Ambies Awards. And to a small group like ours, this nomination means pretty much everything. And most importantly, it means that producers from all over, from any means, can earn recognition from this new Academy by doing quality work. So from all of us here in the Icebox of the Nation, thank you very much.
My name is Bob Raw. I've been teaching meditation for nearly 50 years. I've been fortunate to observe firsthand countless instances of personal growth and spiritual transformation. My whole team feels deeply honored to be recognized by all of you at the Podcast Academy with this Ambie nomination. It means our work is being appreciated by a large and influential audience. It means we're making a difference. So thank all of you at the Podcast Academy because you're making a very big difference as well.
I'm Ty Poole, host of podcast Ty Asks Why. Now, when I started my show 4 years ago, there weren't that many kids in podcasting. Ty Asks Why was created as a show about a curious kid who's always asking questions and trying to get those wonderful answers. And I'm so honored to be nominated with so many other wonderful shows. Thanks again to the Ambies for the nomination.
To introduce the next award, please welcome founding governors of the Podcast Academy, Aaliyah Tavakolian and Hernan Lopez.
Thank you. As everyone knows, podcasts were invented in 2014 by Sarah Koenig and Ira Glass, who created the mega hit Serial.
Hernan, I think podcasts have been around for a lot longer than that.
Oh, duh, of course. Rob just told us that they've been around for 2 decades. And we owe gratitude to all the people who came before us to shape everything, from the RSS feeds to the style of the medium, and yes, even those hair coloring ads.
Starting with Dave Weiner and Adam Curry, so many people have turned podcasting into the vibrant medium that it is today. But there's one trailblazing show that deserves special recognition, the one that has inspired everyone to launch their own podcast.
Even my brother.
The ultimate goal of this whole game is like, can you make it better for other people? You know, can your happiness be equal to those around you?
I'd sit there in the middle of all my garbage, just boxes of storage, with guests at a table. And it was like that for a long time. But that's how the early episodes in LA started.
I would say that over the history of the show, there's really basically 2 names that jumped the show immediately from one level to another, and that was Robin Williams and then obviously Obama, which, you know, was like a 3 million download episode, and it just changed overnight, changed our business.
Right. It was an amazing honor to talk to the president. In my garage! Are you kidding me? And my feeling is like, it's hard to believe that over the course of the 5 years of me doing this show, it's just unbelievable to me that this could happen.
Each year, the governors of the Podcast Academy will bestow the Governor's Award on a show or a person that has had a major impact and influence in the medium.
When it comes to inspiring, to modeling, to truly shaping podcasting, one show stands heads and shoulders above all others. It is our honor to present the first ever Governor's Award to WTF with Mark Maron.
Hey, thank you. This has a lot of weight to it. It's amazing. I just want to say that this is an amazing honor. And look, you know, when Brendan and I started this show, we had no expectations. There was no way to make money. I was in my garage. I didn't even have good mic stands. And I was basically having people who were famous and comedians come over to my house to talk about my problems. And from that evolved a style, and it evolved a way of doing it that seems to be very compelling to people who listen, and also amazingly helpful to me as a human. But I also want to acknowledge not only, you know, Brendan's work, which I will, but there was a lot of us there at the beginning, or at the time we started, not at the beginning of podcasting. There was a community of guys and women and people doing these things, but not that big. And we were all sort of there for each other and supporting each other. And we're watching the business kind of grow around us. And we all had influence on each other, and we all did each other's shows. And it was sort of amazing to be part of something that we certainly didn't know how to do business, become a business, and become something we love to do, and we had complete control over it. But I couldn't have done it without Brendan, who is the other half of this enterprise.
Thank you, Mark, and thanks to the Podcast Academy, not just for honoring us with this, but for creating the award in the first place, because I do think it's important that we start to really acknowledge podcasts as a standalone form. I mean, this is like a movie, like TV, you know, it should have its own recognition. It's not just a means to some other end, you know, start a brand or launch a television pilot. It is its own thing. And that's why Mark and I did it. We were compelled to do it. We were compelled to make it good. And I feel like this is a way to say like, hey, making it good counts. So thank you. I hope everybody out there continues to make it good. Cheers, Mark.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
Wow, truly an honor to have Mark and Brendan join us. Legends of podcast, titans of industry. The guests they've booked for WTF, mind-boggling, right? I mean, for instance, I've done WTF twice, and I'm like very hard to book. I mean, I do think Obama might be harder, but like it's like Obama, me, right? Before we go on, let's give it up for some more sponsors, because money. Thank you for your support, sponsors, but mostly thank you for your money. You are the stimulus checks of the podcasting world. And after this year, I cannot overemphasize how much you are appreciated. Our silver sponsors are all organizations who create podcasts, but they do so much more. They support individual creators. In fact, each of these companies sponsored membership to the Podcast Academy to help ensure that our constituents are as diverse and interesting as the podcast universe itself. Let's take a moment to acknowledge PRX, Tenderfoot TV, and Wondery for providing leadership to the industry in so many different ways. And of course, once again, thank you for your money. Now, please welcome the CEO and founder of AudioChuck and host of Crime Junkie, Ashley Flowers.
This has been a year between lockdown and having every interaction over Zoom, including this one. Entertainment has been more important than ever to keep us sane. And whether your saving grace has been books, music, television, film, you probably also loved some of the entertainment podcasts that reveal a new side of our favorite artists, or go behind the scenes of classic shows, or dig deeper into our favorite albums. So, with a tip of my hat to those who kept us going this year, the nominees for Best Entertainment Podcast are
Best Entertainment Podcast. Dissect. Even the Rich. For Life, the podcast. Office Ladies. Prime Video presents the first one. The Plot Thickens.
And the Ambie goes to Even the Rich.
Great. I just want to take a second and read this list of everyone who's ever wronged us. The guy who colored my hair.
Brooke, we only have 45 seconds.
Okay, then first I want to thank my husband, Ross.
We want to thank our families, especially our parents.
Yes, we want to thank Hernan Lopez for creating Even the Rich, and Caleb Bissinger and Stephanie Jens for believing in us and making this show what it is today.
A big thank you to our current team as well. Now please allow us to read our credits. Brooke and I wrote this speech. Our producers are Natalie Shisha and Kate Young. Our audio engineer is Sergio Enriquez. Sound design by James Morgan. Our executive producers are Jenny Lauer-Beckman and Marshall Louie for Wondery.
Thank you to the Podcast Academy and everybody who voted. Also, thank you to the leaf blowers outside of my apartment who were in every session.
Last but not least, we want to pass the champagne to our Richies.
We'd be nothing without you.
Enchanté.
You have seen him on SNL. You can hear him as a co-host of the podcast you already know. And now you can watch him on his very own NBC sitcom, which I actually auditioned for. I wonder what happened with that. Here to present the nominees for Best Comedy Podcast, Kenan Thompson.
Laughter is the universal language. Even if you don't speak English, I can make you laugh. I might have to pull off your shoes and tickle your little feet, but I can make you laugh. This has been a boom time for comedy. Pandemic, hilarious. QAnon, side-splitting. Murder hornets, nothing funnier than hornets that commit murder. Who's gonna make the arrest? Not me. They say comedy is tragedy plus time, but sometimes it's only about an hour of time. These are the heroes who managed to turn human misfortune into ZipRecruiter ads. The nominees for Best Comedy Podcast are...
Here are your nominees for Best Comedy Podcast. Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Culture Kings. Don't Ask Tig. Groceries. How Did This Get Made? The Breakfast Club. Freedom.
And the Ambie goes to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Wow, this is exciting. I don't quite know how I found myself here. I'm not Conan out of wig and makeup. I would just like to say thank you so much to the Podcast Academy and especially the other nominees, and on behalf of Conan and Sona and my small part of this, just the group that put this thing together: Aaron Blair, Jen Samples, Will Beckton, Paula Davis, Joanna Solitaroff, Jimmy Vivino, Jeff Ross, Colin Anderson, especially the big guy Adam Sachs, and then my brother in arms, Sonam Movsesian, and then of course Conan himself. And finally, the listeners, thank you so much for listening, and thanks to the other nominees, and thank you everybody. I'm done.
Wow, that was kind of stressful. That was just like a bunch of my friends competing with each other to see who was the best of my friends. I guess that's what the Oscars are like for very famous people. In my life, comedy is king. It's how I make my living. It's how I self-express. But for a lot of listeners, another category is king of podcasting. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. True crime. To introduce the nominees in true crime, please join me in welcoming best-selling author and host of the hit podcast To Live and Die in LA, which returns May 27th, Neil Strauss.
Thanks, Cameron. Did you know that podcast ad revenue is expected to reach over $1.3 billion this year? And yes, this is one of those award show speeches that begins with a fact, but what's interesting about this is that largely one podcast broke the mold and made it possible. That podcast is, wonder if you thought of what this was, it's Serial. Serial may be what Jack Benny did for radio, if anyone knows who Jack Benny is, what The Sopranos did for HBO, maybe people don't know what The Sopranos is anymore because culture moves fast, what some TikToker did for TikTok, Serial has done for true crime stories. They've helped us expose the flaws in the legal system. They've helped us see these cases from the inside out. And what's most amazingly is largely because of it, one citizen with an iPhone and a drive for justice has been able to solve cases that have baffled the police for years. So with gratitude to Serial for bringing the genre into the spotlight and teaching America how to be criminally obsessed with a true crime story, here are the nominees in the true crime category.
For Best True Crime Podcast, your nominees are Brainwashed, Chasing Cosby, Dr. Death Season 2, Dr. Fata, I'm Not a Monster, Somebody, Supernatural with Ashley Flowers, The Messenger.
And the Ambie goes to Dr. Death Season 2, Dr. Fata.
Thank you all to the Podcast Academy and to all the listeners of Dr. Death, the first season and the second. I want to thank all the people who spoke to us about the crimes of Dr. Fata for the podcast. I'd like to thank Jeff Schmidt, who truly deserves a Lifetime Achievement Award for all the incredible work he's done with us. I'd like to thank George Lavender, Heather Schuring, Chris Siegel, Lata Pandya, Casey Miner, who all worked incredibly hard at this on this podcast, on this reporting it. Jen Sargent and Hernan and everybody at Wondery, not just for this series, but for all the series that we work on. And of course, to host Laura Beal. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Heather, and my whole family. This past year has been hard for everybody. And they've always been there for me through all of this hard work. So thank you to the Academy, and thank you again for listening.
Wow, here we are approaching the end of a fabulous evening. We have one more award to present, and that is for Podcast of the Year. Podcast of the Year showcases the variety of work being created in the field. These exciting nominees highlight quality of production and content and they encourage listeners to get invested. Whether fiction or nonfiction, these are the series listeners will be talking about years from now. Please raise a glass or an empty hand to this year's nominees for Podcast of the Year.
Podcast of the Year. Blockbuster, the story of James Cameron.
Race for impact.
Bunga Bunga.
Brashest billionaire turned politician the world has ever known.
Chasing Cosby.
I survived being drugged and sexually assaulted by Bill Cosby.
Detours. Dirty Diana.
All right, we're recording.
Dying for Sex.
What would you do if you were given just a few years to live? I know, that's a tough one.
For Life, the podcast.
I can take the icks off my back and I can walk as a free person.
Forgotten. Women of Juarez.
I once made a silent promise to these women.
Say Their Name.
They were saying that Jamar reached for a gun. I knew for sure that was not the truth.
The Happiness Lab.
What really makes us happy?
Money is not going to buy you happiness.
And the Ambie for Podcast of the Year goes to Dying for Sex.
Gosh, okay, so I'd like to thank the Podcast Academy. Thank you so much. Hernan Lopez, you are an amazing, rare soul. Thank you for giving this project wings. Marshall Louis, I appreciate you. Jen Sargent and the whole wonderful Wondery team. Stephanie Jens, you are my creative soul sister. Your writing and your storytelling are perfection. Laura Donna Palavoda, Janine Cornello, thank you for being amazing. Britton Perlman, David Evans, thank you for being my safe space. Corey Moss and Brad Godfred, James Morgan, your beautiful music, Sergio Enriquez, Marcelino Villapando, and to Molly's parents, Joan and Alex, thank you. I love you both. And to my sweet Tommy Fields, thank you for your support, my loud ass family upstairs in St. Louis, but mostly thank you to Molly. Without you, the story would not have been what it was. And you were with all of us. And I didn't know that you wouldn't be here for this, but your spirit will always be with me. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, congratulations. And I'm so glad that you revealed that you're at home and that we don't have to talk about soundproofing your podcast studio. On behalf of the Podcast Academy, I'd like to thank you all for joining us for the inaugural Ambies. Thank you to all the nominees, our sponsors, podcast listeners around the world, and congrats to all the winners, and to all podcasters. May your parents learn how to download podcasts specifically to listen to yours. And your brothers. And your girlfriends. Her sisters. I'm Cameron Esposito. Good night.